PRANARAM, 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 ki jeno lukano name tai mishto eto tabo naam PRANARAM, 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 PRANARAM.
Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Nitapahaya. Revered Swami Balabhadranji Maharaj, Swami Somatmanandaji Maharaj, and other senior Swamis seated here. My humble pranams to them and my heartfelt regards to my dear brother monk, Swami Shuddhidananda, Shri Dilip Agasti, and Dr. Purva Sen Gupta. And my heartfelt regards to all of you, my dear students assembled here. Today we have assembled here to celebrate Swami Vivekananda's Chicago addresses, and it is the 125th anniversary of this great speech which Swamiji had delivered in 1893. If you just look at the impact of Swamiji's talk, we can see that we are not only celebrating the 125th anniversary of Swamiji's Chicago addresses, we are also celebrating the 125th anniversary of India's awakening. This is the first point we should remember. We are also celebrating the 125th anniversary of Hinduism's awakening. And we are also celebrating the 125th anniversary of a global awakening. So, Swamiji's Chicago addresses has brought about three kinds of awakening. That was the impact of what Swamiji accomplished on 11th September 1893 and a series of lectures which followed that event. From that day onwards, India could understand what she is. We should remember, historically speaking, if you just go to the background of what was the condition of our country at that time, we Indians had lost all sense of pride in being Indians. India was lying on its back. What was the condition about the Hindu Sanatana Dharma? People had lost faith in this great and the most ancient thought system of the world, which is the most universal thought system. People had lost faith in that also. And the third point we should remember is that the entire world community was groping in darkness. So Swamiji's talks, which he delivered in Chicago in those few days, was a turning point as far as India is concerned, as far as Hindu Sanatana Dharma is concerned, and as far as the entire world community is concerned. That's why I consider This is not only the 125th anniversary of Swamiji's Chicago addresses, it is also a 125th anniversary of the global awakening, 125th anniversary of India's awakening, and 125th anniversary of Hindu Sanatana Dharma's awakening. Since then, India has been gradually rising on her feet. This was Swamiji's great vision, which he alludes to in his later day talk, where he says, the longest night seems to be passing away. The sorest trouble seems to be coming to an end at last. India, this great motherland, is rising to her feet. None can resist her anymore. No outward power can stop her anymore, for this infinite giant is rising to her feet. So this turning point, which we see today, India is accomplishing great things in almost all the areas of life. The starting point has been this Swami Vivekananda's great address at the Chicago Parliament of Nations. Now, Sister Nivedita makes a beautiful evaluation about Swami Vivekananda's addresses. She says, it's a beautiful evaluation, one of the finest evaluations we find about what Swamiji had accomplished in those few lectures which he delivered in the Chicago Parliament of Religions. She says, when Swamiji, before the Parliament of Religions, when Swamiji started to speak, it was the religious ideas of the Hindus. And when he ended his speech, Hinduism itself was created. It's a wonderful observation which comes from Swamiji's, one of the greatest disciples, who herself had dedicated everything for the good of not only India, but the entire human race. So she says that when Swamiji started to speak, it was the religious ideas of the Hindus, but when he stopped, Hinduism itself was created. Does it mean that Hinduism didn't exist prior to Swamiji's speech? It's not like that. What did Nivedita mean when she said that when Swamiji ended her speech, Hinduism itself was created? She meant that prior to Vivekananda's appearance on that great platform, people have been interpreting or defining Hinduism in all kinds of wrong fashions. In fact, the entire world was looking down upon Hinduism to be a belief system of a barbarous race. That was the overall evaluation of the world community as far as Hindu Sanatana Dharma is concerned. So what Hinduism actually needed at that time was a reorganizing and consolidation of its own ideas and an authoritative utterance coming from the great prophet of our modern times. This is precisely what Vivekananda accomplished in those few days. He presented an all-comprehensive profile of this great universal thought system called Vedic Sanatana Dharma, which is known as Hinduism. So if you just see the beginning, it's very interesting. The 11th September talk, I'm sure all of you must have read this talk, and if you have not read, I very honestly appeal to all of you that you should very carefully read these lectures. The lectures which have awakened the entire human race all over the world, my dear friends, all over the world. It's happening. People are reading and rereading and revisiting Vivekananda's ideas because these are the only ideas which can show and which can shed light inside the human mind in the modern times. You just see, mark the first 3 sentences of this 11th September speech, where Vivekananda says Standing on that platform, Swamiji is thanking the entire world community on behalf of whom? He says, I thank you. He was thanking the entire world community and he's saying that I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. Which is this most ancient order of the monks in the world? He was referring to Vedic Sanatana Dharma, which is known as Hinduism today. The second sentence he says, I thank you in the name of the mother of all religions. Which is this mother of all religions? Again, he was referring to the great thought system, the universal thought system of the Vedas, of which the core is Advaita Vedanta. He was referring to that, which is the mother of all religions. And finally, the third sentence he says, I thank you in the name of the millions and millions of Hindus of all classes and sects. And then following that, you see, it was a very brief speech. You all know it was just a speech of 3.5 minutes. But in these 3.5 minutes, what Swamiji packed was tremendous ideas. Ideas of universalism. We can say it was the charter of universalism to the entire world based upon the universal and scientific thought system and ideas of Vedic Sanatana Dharma. It was a charter of universalism. It was a paper of universalism for the entire world. And Swamiji then goes ahead and says something wonderful. It is very notable that in that short speech, Swamiji had used the word, I am proud, I am proud, I am proud, 4 times. If you read this small talk very carefully, you will see that 4 times Swamiji is saying that I am proud to belong to that religion. I am proud to belong to that nation. I am proud to belong to that religion. Again he says, I am proud to belong to that nation. 4 times he is expressing his pride of having belonging to that great religion, the ancient Vedic thought system, and his pride of being an Indian, because it is this ancient Vedic thought system alone which teaches the entire human race the great lesson of universalism. Swamiji says, I am proud to belong to that religion which has taught to the world both toleration and universal acceptance. He says that we do not believe only in tolerance, we accept all religions as true. Which system in the world can make this kind of a declaration, my dear friends? Which system? I ask you this question. This thought comes only from the ancient, the scientific thought system of the Vedas, which teaches the entire world the great teaching. Ekam sat, vipra bahudha vadanti. Through this one, sages call it by any number of names. You can name that reality by any word. It doesn't make any difference, and you can approach that reality in any number of ways. Therefore, the Hindu Sanatana Dharma teaches this universal idea that we have to accept all religions as true. This was the thundering message which first went from that great platform to the entire world. That's why Swamiji was saying, I am proud to belong to that religion which has given this message ages ago. The world has not taken it yet, even now. We are still waiting for that great moment to come where the entire human race will unifiedly say that all the religions are true. They are all like different paths leading to the same reality. And that's why Swami Vivekananda expressed his tremendous pride in being a person who was a follower of this great system, and a system which was the basis of this great Indian civilization and culture. So if you look into this 11th September speech, I personally find this 11th September speech to be a packet of ideas and emotion. I repeat, if you just look into this 11th September speech, you can see that it is a packet of ideas and emotions of infinite potency. It is a packet of ideas and tremendous emotions packed into it. The emotion of pride, the pride of belonging to that universal system of thought, and pride of belonging to this great land of Bharat. So it's a combination of ideas and emotions which we can say that it exploded on that day. And the impact of that explosion was a kind of awakening which took place in India, an awakening which took place in all the parts of the world regarding these crucial and vital issues. And then Vivekananda goes ahead and speaks something fantastic. Swamiji says, you see, sectarianism, bigotry, and fanaticism, three things he refers to in that speech. Sectarianism, bigotry, and fanaticism he refers to as three demons. Three demons which has caused havoc in the past. If you just look into the history, we know what fanaticism can do to the entire human race. All the bloodshed and violence and hatred which we find in the human history is owing to what? Sectarianism. My sect alone is true. The disease of bigotry, what I am saying alone is true. And the lunacy called fanaticism. These are the three demons which has actually caused tremendous misery to the human race. And Swamiji says that their time has come. Their time has come. Now, the tables have turned, and from now onwards, a new civilization has to start on the basis of the universal ideas which will teach the entire human race the teaching of acceptance. That is how, referring to this very wonderful idea, Swamiji's next talk, the next talk was very interesting. He told the audience the wonderful story of frog in the well. You know what happens when we become bigoted, when we become fanatics, when we become sectarian. And he beautifully says that just like a frog in the well, a frog which is living in the well considers that well itself to be the whole of the world. Similarly, he says all the different religions of the world, they are like frogs living in their own wells. They consider that is the whole of the universe, and what they say alone is true. So Swamiji wanted the entire world community to come out of this frog in the well mentality. How true it is even today. We have to come out of this frog in the well mentality and understand that outside our own well is the reality which is infinite. That kind of a widening of one's perception, widening of one's understanding has to come. That is what Swamiji was appealing in that wonderful talk. Following that, Swamiji had read his beautiful paper on Hinduism, which is one of the finest, I should say, presentation of what Hinduism is. I very strongly appeal to all of you, my dear students, that you should very carefully read this paper on Hinduism, which is one of the most beautiful presentation of what this Hinduism is. Hinduism there is presented as a science and not as a belief system, a science of the human being, of what is the true nature of the human being. It teaches, if you just go to the core of this wonderful system called Hinduism, it teaches that at the core of this entire creation is divinity. And when at the core of this entire creation is divinity, Hinduism says each one of you is divine. Each one of you is divine. And to realize this divinity is the very purpose of human life. And there is a way and method to do this. And that method is known as yoga. I'm just summing up that wonderful Swamiji's presentation in a few words. So through that paper on Hinduism, Swamiji tells the entire human race about their own divine nature and how to realize it. That is what Hinduism actually is. It's not a belief system, it is a seeking system where we seek the truth. We have to be the seekers of truth. This is what Swamiji had kept before the Parliament of Religions. And finally coming to the last talk, where Swamiji beautifully sums up about what actually happened in those days of the Parliament of Religions, where he says, if the Parliament of Religions has shown anything to the entire world, it is this, that purity, charity and holiness is not the exclusive position of any church, that every system in the world has produced exalted men and women of exalted character, and if anybody believes that his religion alone is going to survive and all other religions are going to be destroyed, Swamiji says, I pity him from the bottom of my heart, and I declare that very soon on the banner of all religions will be written wonderful three things. He says on the banner of every religion, it is going to be written what? It says, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. So if you just sum up the whole of the Swamiji's speeches, again I say that it was a charter of universalism given by Swamiji based upon the universal and scientific ideas of the Vedic Sanatana Dharma, a teaching of universalism. And it is this Vedic Sanatana Dharma which is the very basis of India's culture and civilization. That is the reason why India is so open-hearted, why India is so Catholic, why India welcomes everyone, why India accepts all the religions as true. The basis is the great thought system of the Vedas. Before I end, I would just like to say one more thing, and I'm slightly digressing from the main subject. Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya in Madhya Pradesh, which is also known as the Sagar University there, this university is conducting from tomorrow onwards a 3-day seminar on Advaita Vedanta, a 3-day seminar on the great Advaitic system, Advaita Vedanta of Adi Shankaracharya. And the scholars and academicians from all parts of the world, they are going to come and participate. And in this conference, they are specially felicitating Advaita Ashram. Now, why am I saying this? Today, all over the world, my dear friends, you should know that the world is seeking the great universal thought system of Advaita Vedanta. There is a tremendous hunger everywhere. People are fed up with this fanatical, bigoted thought systems of the world. They want something scientific and universal. And they are in search of that. That is why there is tremendous hunger for Advaita Vedanta and Yoga everywhere. And today, if this meeting is being organized, a conference, I ask you, what is the starting point of this? This whole process of placing Advaita Vedanta before the entire world community started when Swami Vivekananda first spoke from that great platform of Chicago Parliament of Religions. Thank you so much.
আমরা মন্ত্রমুগ্ধের মতো মহারাজের ভাষণ শুনছিলাম। আমরা অভিভূত ও আপ্লুত পূজনীয় মহারাজকে তার জ্ঞানগর্ভ ভাষণ প্রদানের জন্য প্রণাম এবং শ্রদ্ধা জ্ঞাপন করি।
প্রাণারাম 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 কি যেন লুকানো নামে তাই মিষ্ট এত তব নাম প্রাণারাম 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 প্রাণারাম